going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Studio Series Gamer Edition War for Cybertron Deluxe Class Bumblebee. Now, this is the final figure out of Wave 1 for some of these Gamer Edition releases, and the line has definitely been hit and miss, so I am intrigued to see if Bumblebee is going to turn the tides in the right direction. But as we check out the box art, you know, we get an amazing CG render of Bumblebee based on the old War for Cybertron video game, a close-up image of the full body, which looks incredible, and as we come around here to the back, we do get a few product shots. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, this was probably the weakest looking when they were all first officially unveiled. Whether or not that's the case, now I have this guy in hand, we're going to talk about that in just a second, but we do get a very brief bio. Bumblebee teams up with the Autobots to protect Icon from the Decepticon assault. So, with that being said, let's get him out here and see how he stacks up alongside his original 2010 counterpart. And here we have the War for Cybertron Bumblebee, and I'm just going to be real with you guys. When this was first shown off alongside both Barricade and Optimus Prime, immediately I kind of struck it off as being the weakest out of the wave. I wasn't too excited to pick it up. You know, I do own the original 2010 release, but getting it in hand, accurately transforming it, I'm going to go ahead and say this is probably the best Gamer Edition figure which I've reviewed so far, because not only are both the robot and vehicle mode wicked, but in terms of an update, it is a pretty strong looking figure. Now, as we get stuck into the details, personally, I think that face sculpt looks wicked, you know, kind of a great blend of the War for Cybertron aesthetic mixed with G1 and the chest. I know you guys all want to see how this looks in hand. To me, 1,000 times better than some of those original product shots. I mean, it doesn't hang nowhere near as low. The way it's configured is a lot more streamlined, and to be fair, the proportions are pretty bang on to what we see in the game. And unlike the original 2010 release, it doesn't use fake pieces. These are the actual headlights of the vehicle mode, and they don't just hang off the side of the forearms, meaning that for the most part, you are left with a pretty kibbleless robot mode. So yeah, I really like the design here for the arms. That looks fantastic. And as we spin him around to the back, accurate kibble. This is what it looks like when you are playing as Bumblebee in the War for Cybertron game. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, but unfortunately my praises are a little scarce as we come down here to the legs, because he's definitely not without his flaws. I don't like the way this looks, you know, having this ugly grey hinge facing towards you, to me just kind of sucks, and there is a very simple fix for this which I will show you in just a second. And I don't like the wheel placement at all. You know, they did such an amazing job in placing the wheel smack bang in center in the leg on the original 2010 release. It is such a shame that in 2023 they also couldn't have used that engineering for this figure, because had they kept the upper body and then used the 2010 legs, I think this probably would have been undoubtedly the best War for Cybertron Bumblebee. So yeah, the legs are definitely kind of slacking, but in terms of his articulation, we do get a nice ball joint, so that can look up and down, tilt side to side, as well as rotate left to right. To be fair, that's actually a really cool ball joint. The shoulders can hinge out to the sides, forwards and backwards. There is a bit of bicep rotation. The elbows can bend to 90. Unfortunately, no wrist rotation at all, but due to transformation, we do get this hinge joint which can kind of go inwards and outwards, so I guess that's something. There is a waist rotation which is pretty cool. The hips can kick forwards that far, back to that far, out to the sides, a bit of thigh rotation, slightly past 90 here at the knee, and due to his official transformation, absolutely nothing in the ankles, which, let's all face it, for a 2023 Deluxe sucks, but you can slightly mistransform him to fix that. So you're going to want to pop the chest up, rotate here at the waist, and then rotate at the thighs, and watch this, guys. Bang! Look at that. We now get ankle pivot, which is amazing for getting him into some of those slightly more dynamic poses. And am I crazy, or does the outside of the leg now look 1,000 times better than this ugly grey hinge that was on the stock transformation? So why the designers themselves didn't pick up on this is just crazy to me, because that is definitely the better conversion in my opinion. The only downside is that due to the butt being hollow, it's now facing forwards and it looks kind of ugly, but do you know, depending on how you pose him, you may be able to slightly cover that up. So you guys let me know what you think. Are you going to be slightly mistransforming him, or are you just going to be keeping him in the kind of stock conversion? Now on to accessories, and Bumblebee is definitely packing. So first of all, we get this really nice cannon, pretty nicely sculpted. It integrates in the exact same way as you've seen from both Barricade and Optimus Prime. So we take the right forearm, slide it off the mushroom peg, and much like you see in the game, it does appear as if though it's transformed out of their arms, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, that's a pretty nice weapon. There's also a second blaster, slightly longer in terms of its design, more like a rifle. Much like the other one, again, you can slide it onto the arm. And then finally, we do get this Energon sword, which has been detailed pretty nicely, although it's a lot smaller than I was expecting. But because he does come with 3 accessories, I'm going to give that a pass. Now, you can store 2 weapons on the back at one time. So there are these slots here, and there are a few tabs on the underside of each weapon. So, for example, we can smack the sword here into the back and do the exact same here for this blaster. I am yet to find any storage for the arm. You know, unlike Prime, you can't smack it into his ass port, so it will literally just be kind of hanging off to the side, but still, I really like this integration, and because all the arms do work the same, you can switch these weapons out with barricades, with Optimus Prime, so yeah, I think that's going to be really cool, especially when we get the likes of Cliffjumper and Megatron. It's going to be wicked to kind of see Megatron's fusion cannon integrated onto Optimus Prime, and then vice versa with Prime's Ion Blaster. Now, as we take a look at a few comparisons, first up, we've got to bring in that original 2010 Deluxe B, and as I said beforehand, this new version is a great update. It definitely does do a lot of things right. For example, I much prefer the chest, I much prefer the forearms on this guy, but I can't really excuse the legs because that is one area where I do think the original 2010 version holds up so much better. I mean, look at it. From the outside, it looks great. From the inside, it looks great, and not to mention the wheels are slap bang in center, and the way they were encased is just so game accurate. So it is a slight shame that they couldn't basically just nick the engineering of the legs on this original version and pack it in here for the new Studio Series version, but this is what they both look like from the side, and I'll also say I much prefer the colour on the new Gamer Edition version than I do here for the original release, because it was just a little too light of a shade of yellow when compared to what we saw in game. Here he's alongside another Cybertronian Bumblebee, that being the live action movie B127, and am I the only one who basically thought that this was just a live action movie rendition of what we saw from War for Cybertron? So yeah, it's definitely kind of interesting to compare the two designs as they are both based on Cybertronian vehicles. Here's the Rise of the Beast Studio Series Deluxe Class Bumblebee. Gamer Edition Studio Series Barricade, which unfortunately, without a doubt, is the worst figure out of this first wave. I mean, he does just suck on so many levels, especially here for the robot mode. So, undoubtedly, if you're given the option between the two, 100% go with Bumblebee. Here he is alongside the original 2010 Cybertronian Megatron, and we recently did just get the reveal of the Studio Series Voyager Megatron, which does look incredible, so definitely am excited to get my hands on him. And then finally, the Gamer Edition War for Cybertron Optimus Prime, and in terms of a pairing, scale-wise, they do look very accurate to the game, and in terms of which one I would recommend, it is kind of tough because I do love the way Optimus looks in his robot mode, but sadly, that vehicle mode in quite a few areas does fall short, whereas you're going to see in a second, I'd say Bumblebee is probably a strong all-rounder, so I'm going to leave you guys to make your minds up on that decision. As now we're going to get stuck into the transformation, which up front I'm going to say is definitely not simple. If you guys were hoping for a slightly more straightforward transformation when compared to the original 2010 release, unfortunately you are out of luck. So to kickstart things off with, you will want to take the shoulders and just hinge these pieces here upwards on both sides. We can then take that wrist joint, bring it out to the sides, and then take the wheels, rotate those downwards until they do soft click into place, and then just kind of push that up against it. Do the exact same here for this side, so bring that wrist piece here down, rotate the wheel forwards just like that. Now what you'll do is detach the chest away from kind of the internal skeleton, so untab that like this, and then come around here to the back and bring this section down. That will then allow you to lift this entire section here all the way up and over B's head, and this is definitely where things can get a little annoying. So what you're going to want to do here is basically splay these pieces out, take this middle piece, bring it here all the way down, and then take this section here and straighten it out until it does kind of soft click into place. Once you've done that, we can now take the shoulders and bring these pieces here backwards, just like this, so they kind of fill in that gap. So do the same here for this side, so bring that all the way in. If you haven't done so already, for robot mode, these pieces are pushed inwards. For vehicle mode, you are just going to want to straighten these out. And then what you'll do is rotate here at the bicep, and there is a little notch here that's going to snap itself into this tab on what I think is kind of the vehicle mode fender. So bring that in and just lock it in there. Come around here to this side and do the exact same, so snap that there into place. We can then straighten out this backpack, and this is where things definitely do get kind of treacherous. So rotate here at the waist so the front is now facing the back. Then what you're going to want to do is detach this piece, and then at the same time bring the knee joint here backwards. So you should be left with something at the moment which looks like this. Once that's done, we can then take this piece here, bring this section here down, and then rotate this section so that basically overlaps on the knee joint. We can then take this little foot piece, pull this piece here inwards, and then do the exact same here for this side. So detach this section, and then whilst you're doing that, rotate here at the knee. So basically flip it upside down, take this piece, detach it, and then bring this piece here around, take the toe, and just snap that there into place. And now what you're going to want to do is ensure that you basically get this little groove tucked underneath that tab. So shift this here all the way up until it does go underneath that piece. So you should be left with something which looks along the lines of that. Once you've done that, we can then bring this inwards. These two tabs are going to lock themselves into these pieces, and then there's also a little tab here on the underside that's going to snap itself into the arm. So do the exact same here for this side. So just lock that there into place, make sure that that also is snapped into place, push all of that upwards, and then for some finishing touches, take this section here, bring it backwards, and there are two little slots here that those little tabs are going to snap into, so peg them in. And bang, here we have Bumblebee fully transformed into his Cybertronian vehicle mode, aka a mouse for a computer, because that is always what this has reminded me of, but it's solid. I mean, look at it, as I said beforehand, probably the most solid Gamer Edition figure that I've checked out so far, because both robot and vehicle mode do look great, and I think this here is so cool. I mean, look at the back of it. Unlike Gamer Prime, nothing ugly sticks out, the tail lights have been painted, I like all of the kind of black detail that we have for the roof, and the side of the vehicle looks awesome. All four wheels are pinned on, meaning that if you have him on a flat surface, you'll have no issues at all. There is just a tiny bit of clearance between the wheels and kind of the base here of the alt mode, so if you have him on a slightly unsteady surface, unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get too far, but detail from the front, yeah, this guy looks awesome. It really does feel like they packed the majority of their budget into Bumblebee, because all round he is a very strong release. Now, in terms of weapon storage, basically the same as we saw in robot mode. The only difference is this time there is a nice slot here on the underside for you to take the blaster, so we can peg that in there, and then the other two weapons you can smack here on the back, which isn't the end of the world, but alternatively, much like Optimus Prime and Barricade, you can kind of give him a weaponized look in the sense that you can take any of the blasters and smack them onto the roof and have him firing down some of the Decepticons when in vehicle mode, which, you know what, isn't a bad look. Now, as we jump into a few vehicle mode comparisons, again, I'm whacking out that original 2010 Deluxe just so you guys can see roughly how they pair alongside each other. I will say that the new Studio Series version does appear to be a little more accurate to the in-game model, as you'd expect, because there's been, what, like 13 years since this release and the release of the game, which is kind of crazy, and also sucks that we haven't as of yet seen a remaster, but yeah, to be fair, I'd say they're pretty much on par with each other in terms of which one I prefer here in alt mode. Here he is alongside the Studio Series Bumblebee movie Cybertronian B127, and as I said previously, I look at this as maybe being a live-action movie reimagining of some of those War for Cybertron designs, so yeah, it's pretty cool to compare the two, although I do prefer the way this one's kind of shaped when compared here to B127. Here he is alongside the Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Bumblebee. Gamer Edition Barricade, which even in vehicle mode is still enormous. I mean, I have no idea why they decided to make him so big, but as you guys can see, yeah, there is definitely a pretty big difference in terms of the sizes between the two deluxe releases, but which one do I prefer here in vehicle mode? Again, I do think Bumblebee. I do just like the way his vehicle is shaped a lot more than this kind of Batman looking thing that we have here. And then finally, here we have him alongside the Gamer Edition Voyager class Optimus Prime, which really should be the best out of the whole bunch considering he warrants a higher price tag. But I'm sorry guys, those fists are just killing it for me. You know, how they were able to conceal it on two deluxe figures in the same wave is just crazy, and they didn't do it here for the Voyager. But yeah, this is how these two roughly pair alongside each other, so Prime is definitely a monster in terms of size. And now jumping into reverse transformation. You guys let me know down below if you think I should still keep reverse transformation in some of these latest reviews. But anyway, getting stuck into it, first of all, you will want to come here to the rear of the vehicle and just pop this section up. Then we're going to take the legs and just attach these sections. And if you haven't done so already, also remove the blaster, but come to this side. And again, just attach this. What you'll now want to do is take the foot, angle this section here out to the side, which will then allow enough clearance for us to bring this piece around. So do the same here for this side, so bring this down and bring that over. What we can now do is kind of bring this down and then extend this and click it into place for its robot mode positioning and fully straighten that out. So do the same here for this side, so just flip that around and then snap that there into place. We can now straighten out the feet and bring these pieces over the top of what I believe are supposed to be his ankles, so do the same there. We can now take this whole assembly, dip it down, and then rotate at the waist. This is the position that you'll want for the robot mode, unless you want to use kind of the alternate transformation where you have this reversed. Completely up to you guys. Next up, we're then going to take the wheels and just attach them away from the fenders, so bring these pieces here down. Do the exact same here for this side, and then you're going to take these pieces, angle them out to the sides, and that is not supposed to happen. So carrying on, next up you'll then want to take this piece here and just bring this section here down, just like that. We can flip this panel here up, and then take these pieces and collapse them inwards for robot mode. There's still enough clearance for us to push the bot mode head through, and then what's going to happen here is this is going to straighten out, and that tab is going to smack itself into that slot. So snap that in there. Now you then should just be able to take the backpack and hinge it upwards, but mine does have an additional piece of plastic which restricts it from doing that. So the second I push it, look at that, it does just detach, and because the plastic of this piece is kind of flexible, it's near enough impossible for me to move it past that point without popping off. So yeah, that does kind of suck. If that is an issue on your copy, let me know down below. I guess I'll have to just file a bit of plastic off, but snap that back in, and then just snap this piece in, come back around here to the arms, rotate here at the biceps, take these wheels and just rotate those backwards, angle the hands out, and do the exact same here for this side, and bang, there is Bumblebee fully transformed into his robot mode. And wrapping up on this review for the Studio Series War for Cybertron Deluxe Class Bumblebee. Overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with this one, which I am surprised to say considering for the most part, the other two Gamer Edition figures were kind of weak. I mean, Prime had some issues in vehicle mode, Barricade had quite a few issues in his robot mode, but Bumblebee appears to be an all-rounder, very solid. I mean, I like the way the robot mode looks. In some ways, I think it gets a few things done a little better than the original 2010 Deluxe. The only area where he is slacking would be the way the legs transform, but there is a slightly simple fix that you can apply to them to make them look a little better, such as mistransforming them, and along with that mistransformation does allow for the ankles to move, which I think is kind of cool. I do like his accessories. It's great that he comes with 3, you know, one of them I don't even remember using in the game, so that's pretty awesome. In terms of the transformation, still very complex. You know, if you were hoping for a slightly more straightforward conversion when compared to the original 2010 release, unfortunately I don't think you're going to get that here with this guy, because yeah, the conversion definitely can be a little tricky in some aspects, but vehicle mode, much like robot mode, looks fantastic. It is a really solid looking vehicle, and overall, if you don't own the original 2010 release and you are looking to kind of dip your toes into these Gamer Edition figures, then I would definitely recommend Bumblebee as a starting off point, because I do think he is the strongest so far, and I am hoping that the upcoming Gamer Edition Megatron follows in his footsteps and not in the footsteps of Barricade and even Optimus Prime. You guys let me know what you think of this figure down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.